Sorry, that wasn't loud. Welcome to this meeting of the Assembly Committee on Education for the 2023 legislative session. Secretary, will you please call roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson.
Present.
Assemblyman De Silva. Assemblywoman Hanson. Assemblywoman Hardy. Assemblyman Koenig.
Here.
Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch.
Here.
Assemblyman MacArthur.
Here.
Assemblywoman Mosca.
Here.
Assemblywoman Taylor.
Present.
Assemblywoman Thomas. Assemblywoman Torres.
Here.
Chair Bilbray Axelrod.
I am here, and please mark the members here as they arrive. I know Assemblyman De Silva is presenting a bill in the other committee, Growth and Infrastructure. So we do have a quorum. So welcome everyone who's here today and watching us online. And if there's anyone in Vegas, we have 3 bills we're going to hear today. So just a little housekeeping, please silence your electronic devices. So anything that makes a beep, make sure you have it down. And I'm going to do the same thing because sometimes I'll have a Zoom meeting before and then forget to do that. So handouts, there should be 20 copies for the public. Electronic copies should be sent to our committee manager by 1:30 p.m. the day before the committee. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during this meeting. Committee members will be using their laptops and to view handouts and other documents. Please don't view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. With that, let's get started. I see we have our speaker here. Today we are going to hear 3 bills. We'll begin with the hearing on Assembly Bill 164. Then we will hear Assembly Bill 72, then 73. I'll now open the hearing on AB 164. This measure revises provisions relating to outdoor recreation. To present this measure, we have Speaker Yeager. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Education Committee. My name is Steve Yeager. I represent Assembly District 9, which is in Southwest Las Vegas. This is my first time appearing in front of this committee this session, and let me just say it is an honor, and let me thank each of you for the work that I know you're going to be doing this legislative session. So today I'm bringing to you Assembly Bill 164. I don't think my presentation is going to be terribly long. I'll try to keep it brief. I know you have a lot of good work to do. Assembly Bill 164 relates to something that is a passion of mine, and that is outdoor recreation. Time in the outdoors, as many of you know, is not just good for your physical health, but it's good for your mental health as well. It improves your social and emotional learning and results in greater resiliency. This bill in particular tries to start the process of thinking about how we might take outdoor recreation and pair it with our education system. Today, children can spend as little on average as 10 minutes a day outside, which is a far cry from when I was younger, but that is the reality of the world we live in, and I think the pandemic made that worse with a lot more time in front of a screen. Before I go into this bill, I just wanted to talk a little bit because I've had the pleasure of doing a lot of legislation in this building, but I think I'm probably most proud of some of the outdoor recreation legislation I've been able to do. And that started with Assembly Bill 385 in the 2017 session, and that was known as the Kids in Parks Bill, where we gave every 5th grader in the state a free parks pass. And I brought this with me today. I have the bill signing photo from that, which is still my favorite bill signing ever because we had the bill signing at a state park. And it was Governor Sandoval at the time, and they invited students. And if you're wondering who that guy is there holding the bill, that's me before I had all this gray hair. So, a lot has happened since then. But this was really the start of that outdoor recreation legislation. And I realized when we passed that bill that I had only really been to a couple of our state parks, and so I made it a point over the next few years to visit every one of our state parks in Nevada, and that was a wonderful experience, and I hope I'm able to do it again because I didn't spend a lot of time at each park, but being in those parks, taught me a lot of things, and one is just how great of a state we live in. I mean, a lot of us are from Southern Nevada, and of course we have the desert there, but you leave Southern Nevada and just so many wonderful places in our state, and so my goal here is really to help kids to get outside and to experience that. And so building on that particular bill in the 2019 session before the pandemic, We passed Assembly Bill 331, which was called the No Child Left Inside program. And that was essentially a micro grant program where the department, or the Division of Outdoor Recreation, would be able to make micro grants to get kids outside. Now, there was no real tie-in to education for that bill. And right after that bill passed, we had the pandemic. So right now, there's not really any money in that account. I think we have yet to give a grant out. But there is some stuff going on in the budget that may fund that account. But, I give you that background of a couple of bills that I worked on that I'm proud of. But I think this one really builds upon that. And so let me tell you what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to come to this committee with a number of educators on the committee and bring you a program that says you have to include this stuff in your curriculum. I know better than to do that. I've been in this building long enough. I'm not an educator. I'm not the expert on this. But I think what this bill does is get that conversation started for the next legislative session. So you'll see here that what we're doing is we're creating an outdoor education advisory working group, and that would be housed in the Division of Outdoor Recreation. They are here to speak about this proposal as well, and I did speak to them before I put the bill in to ask if they would be willing to host this group. And this is not a group that's going to exist in perpetuity. They're going to have one mission, and it's going to be over this interim. And so when you look at sort of the bottom of page 1 of the bill onto the top of page 2, it would require them to study approaches to incorporate outdoor recreation into the curriculum of the public education system in the state. Now, this is not a new idea. There have been a number of states that have started to work on this process, and one I wanted to point out was the state of Georgia. One of my good friends there, Senator Rahman, he chaired a similar committee, and they came out with a nice 8 or 9 page report about some recommendations that might be used in Georgia, and they're working through that process this legislative session. But the idea here is we would spend a little bit of time trying to come up with something that works for Nevada, if we find something that works, because I'm mindful that not every state is the same. We don't want to just take a cookie cutter approach from another state and put it in Nevada. So that's really the goal and the mission of this bill. Now you move on to the next section, and we have a bunch of folks who would be appointed to this group. We have 13 people, so I think you do need an odd number if you're going to be voting on things. And I will tell you, anyone who's ever worked on one of these bills, it is really hard to figure out who to put on these working groups and committees. And so I've given what I think is a manageable amount of folks, including a couple of legislators, but certainly open to suggestions. I don't want to make the group too big that it's not manageable, but I want to make sure that we have subject matter experts. When it comes to outdoor recreation, a lot of folks in the state are interested in that topic, and so again, just open to suggestions if members think we left somebody out, if maybe someone's on there who shouldn't be on there. But the idea is those folks get appointed quickly. The bill, for the purposes of appointment, the bill is effective upon passage and approval. So if we get this bill to the governor's desk and he signs it, we can start making those appointments right away to constitute the group. And then really moving on to the bottom of page 2, it talks about looking at opportunities to integrate outdoor recreation with a number of different topic areas that relate to education. And then the rest of the bill is really kind of the mechanics. There'll be a chair, there'll be a vice chair. This is a volunteer thing, nobody gets paid for it. And the division will provide administrative staff. So we're not going to need legislative staff to come staff these. The division has, the bill asks them to do that, and I think they're willing, but I'll let them speak for themselves. And then the real goal here is by December 31st, 2024, we would have a report to the legislature with recommendations about what we might be able to do to integrate outdoor recreation into the education system. So one of the logical questions might be, well, what do you think would come of this? I'm not sure. I mean, I've looked at other states, and the state of Washington in particular did this, and they kind of looked at approaches, and they came up with the program. It's sort of like a grant program, much like we have already, but to be able to fund opportunities for educational experiences that would both be in the classroom and during classroom time, and also extracurricular activities. So that is an approach, but really I want to think about it here and think about what works for our state, and maybe what doesn't work. Maybe at the end of this, the conclusion is we're not really sure we can or should do much. But I think it's worth having the discussion. Another question I'll address, sometimes people say, well, why didn't you have this discussion before you got to the legislative session? I would have loved to have done that. I would say one of the difficult things of always having a competitive election is there's not necessarily time to work on policy. But rather than bring you something that wasn't ready, I thought this would be a really good first step. And I think, Madam Chair, with your permission, I think I'll just leave it there and would be willing to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Speaker, and we do have a number of questions, and I say thank you for bringing this bill. I grew up in Las Vegas, and my dad was an avid hiker, and I was out all the time, and I still camp to this day, so I think it's great. So I'm going to go ahead and tell folks who the questions are from. This is what I have so far. Assemblywoman Anderson, Assemblywoman Moscow. Vice Chair, Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch, and Assemblywoman Thomas. Did I miss anyone? I feel like there's 4 more members. Did you guys want to throw in? No? So, very bold, you guys, putting the Speaker on the hot seat. I don't know if you... But please go ahead, Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Speaker, for bringing this forward. I remember talking with you about this, I think, in Denver at one point. Really like it. My question has to do with section 1.7. 1.7, it's on page 3. It just has to do with the report itself. Is there any sort of language or ideas of possibly bringing forward a bill draft request? Because I feel like that would be really important if we were able to bring forward something like that in some way. And also, before you answer that, thank you for bringing this forward on Social Emotional Learning Week. And because being outdoors is incredibly important to our kids. Also, having them outdoors is incredibly important for the teachers to be away from them for a few minutes. But back on track. So thank you for bringing this forward on Social Emotional Learning Awareness Week.
Thank you. Steve Yeager for the record. Madam Chair, is it okay if I go direct, or would you like me to go through? Okay. Thank you for those comments, and look, I agree. One of the hard parts of serving in the legislature is how rare it is that we actually get outside of this building during working hours. But to your question about a BDR, I did not include language for this group to have a BDR. I'm open to that suggestion, but I'm also mindful that sometimes people don't like when we do that in bills. I guess I'll say this, given that it's a one-time commission or committee that's going to meet, if this committee would like to give a BDR, I would certainly be open to that. I just didn't suggest it just because I know those concerns are out there sometimes that we already have too many bill draft requests in the legislative building, but I think it's a good idea and would leave it up to the the committee if and when you decide to process if you'd like to add that as an amendment.
Thank you so much. And for me personally, I think it'd be a great thing to have a BDR on there. But I also respect what you're saying and the fact that you, as well as the chair, have to figure out how to balance all those things. So thank you very much for bringing this forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've worked with young people for a long time. We've worked with groups like Get Outdoors Nevada to make sure that young people can go outside. And with that, they usually are the ones that decide where we're going to go because they have a lot of thoughts, opinions, and they love it. So just thinking, have we thought about adding a student, whether it's a college student or a high school student?
Steve Yeager for the record. Great suggestion. I had not thought about that until this exact moment, but I think it's a good one. Yeah, open to that suggestion. I just want to make sure, we keep an odd number of members. I hope the committee's never deadlocked on something like outdoor recreation and education, but just in case they are, I think we'd want to make sure that we have an odd number of members, but that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I may have just solved that problem of an odd number. I have 2 questions, Chair, if I may. I actually have 17. No, I'm kidding. 2 questions, though. And let me just piggyback on what my colleague, Assemblywoman Moscow, just said. I wondered if you had any thinking about adding perhaps the superintendent or someone in district leadership in terms of how this might actually apply to them working. It's great to have the teachers because they have to actually, but from a systematic standpoint. So that might be, I'm no mathematician, but that might be 15. Don't know if you want that number to be so high. And then my second question, if I can just throw right in, is because there's no fiscal impact, I'm imagining you envision the meetings either being via Zoom or perhaps at a park. No, just kidding. It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve Yeager, for the record. I think the suggestion of a superintendent is good. I will say I did think about that, but then I started to get into, well, we have 17 different superintendents, and we have North and South and Frontier, so good suggestion. I will say we got to figure out who would appoint that person, because there's, I tried to make this as easy as possible, but to your question, like, certainly open to that suggestion. And I don't know, maybe we can say, maybe we can find a way to balance the regional representation. Let's say if, the teachers are from a certain area, or we have Department of Education folks who are based in the north, maybe we pick somebody from the south, but really good suggestion. And then I don't anticipate a fiscal impact, because the Outdoor Recreation Division has been gracious to agree to staff it. I think it would sort of be open. If they wanted to do in-person meetings, they could. If they wanted to do Zoom, they could. If they wanted to do hybrid, whatever would work for them. But given that people are not going to be paid for it and they're not going to be reimbursed for their travel, that could be an issue. I do think, I don't know that this is written in here, and maybe it should be, but I think we could also allow the Division of Outdoor Recreation to accept gifts or grants to carry out the mission of this council, and that would allow, perhaps some of our outdoor recreation partners in the state, if they wanted to come forward with a small amount of money to be able to fly people or put people together, or, to your suggestion, which I think was maybe in jest, but maybe going to a park would be great, right? Maybe that could be one of the meetings, to actually visit a location. So I will note that as a suggestion. I think we should indicate that they can accept gift or grants for the purposes of carrying this out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Chair.
Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Speaker, for bringing this. I agree that getting outdoors is critical, and as a high school teacher, I can tell you my kids don't get outdoors enough. It's kind of hard to take a world history class outdoors, but I try sometimes. My question has to do on page 3 when we're talking about the compensation. I understand that we are trying to avoid a fiscal note, but I know, especially for teachers, we serve on a lot of these committees and task force, and teachers over and over again give their time because that's who they are and they want to work for their kids. But at some point, it does become onerous, and I wondered if there might be some consideration of at least a little compensation for the teachers, or I guess the non-legislative members that are on there.
Steve Yeager, for the record, and look, you're absolutely right. I know this is one of the challenges, right, of being really dedicated and passionate about what you do, no matter what area you're in. You're going to get asked to do a lot of things. You're going to be voluntold to do some of those things, and some of those things you'll volunteer for. But I understand the concern there. I think there probably is a way to do it. I've got to think a little bit more about how that would work. And mainly, to be honest, the no compensation provision is really for the legislators, right? Because when we go to sort of official legislative interim committee meetings, we do get paid for those, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't going beyond those official legislative meetings. But let me think a little bit more about that, if there is a way to do it. So I'll connect with legal on that, but I think perhaps some kind of travel stipend or something for the day would be good if we could do it.
Assemblywoman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I meant Chairwoman. Well, anyway, one day somebody called me senator, so okay. All right. But thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate this presentation. It was really great. The only thing that I'm asking right now, in Section 1, we mentioned teachers, we mentioned, legislators, the educators, specialists, but I think we left out parents. So I was wondering if, we could include a parent and then you would have another odd number there.
Steve Yeager, for the record. So I will tell you, I had a list that I started with that was, it was probably about 37 people. And my first thought was, it's hard to run a meeting with that many people. But there's also the appointing authorities too, right? There are a lot of these appointments and statutes are either the speaker, the majority leader, the governor. So there's a lot of people that you have to find. So I tried to pare that list down to something that I thought was a reasonable place to start a discussion, but certainly open to including a parent as well. I think probably what I need to do is take this list, and it'd probably be good to talk to each and every one of you, because I really think you really need to keep it under 20 people, I think, for it to be effective. So I think we could potentially go to 19, which would give us 6 more appointments, and I've heard 3 so far, so maybe we need another one, but I appreciate that suggestion.
Thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair.
We have 2 more questions for you that I know of. Assemblywoman Hanson and then Assemblywoman Torres. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's good to see you, Mr. Speaker. I'm an idea person, and I love these ideas, the macro, and I know that you're talking to us about how this might play out. I'm curious, all about the outdoors. I always say to my kids, we've all gotten too over-civilized, so get outside. And connect. And so that's super important. And I'm trying to understand how maybe this will be implemented. You mentioned the report from somebody you know in Georgia. I was curious because I'm thinking in my mind, I'd like, if you can, maybe share, like what are some of I'm thinking, did they do theirs on a statewide? Because as I think about this on a statewide, I'm almost wondering if, not to give school districts more to think about, but does the statewide maybe just give some guidance that I see almost like this advisory thing at a school district level, because every school district's a little bit different. And so I'm curious maybe what Georgia suggests when I think of maybe some ideas if somebody were saying, hey, how would you implement ideas for outdoors? I'd think about, well, can they take more field trips that get them outdoors? That it's already a structure in the classroom where field trips are approved. Is it increasing recess time, which I know I've had some major concerns over the decrease in recess time. So if you don't mind, share some of the Georgia suggestions.
Steve Yeager for the record, and I'd be happy to. I can submit this report to the committee. It's only about 10 pages, which is pretty short considering whenever legislators are involved in reports. But they had 7 different recommendations, and some of those were. One of those was to create an Office of the Outdoors, presumably within the Department of Education. I'm not sure if that's something that would work here, but to encourage funding or other support. So that there's regular, meaningful outdoor learning experiences on campus, as well as field trips to other areas. They encourage the support of green school ground pilots around the state. I'm not sure what that is, but I'd like to look into that. They encourage the creation of a grant program. I think we already have the grant program, but that grant program that would be available both to schools, but also to nonprofits to kind of come up with programs. And then, interestingly enough, they actually had a recommendation to encourage some of their colleges to reinstitute an outdoor education degree program, which I guess they had at one point and must have been contracted for some reason, and that, the idea there being just to get more folks involved in the outdoors. And then the last one they have, and it's also something I need to look into, they said the study committee encourages the inclusion of an ongoing program similar to the MLK Junior Outdoor Learning Trail in Columbus, Georgia, in students' curriculum statewide. Students should have the opportunity to engage in nature, civics, and gardening. So that must be a program that already exists somewhere in a local area that I think they recommended be expanded statewide. So those are some of the recommendations that they made. Obviously, not all those are going to work for Nevada. And then this is just one example. Like Washington actually came up with legislation out of their study that was essentially a pilot program to try to actually do the integration into the classrooms. But I'm happy to provide what I have so far. And I think, as far as I know, the Washington state's really the only one that has passed a bill that resulted from the study commission. All the other states are in the process of hearing their bills in their legislative sessions.
I'm just going to go very quick. Regarding the statement that was made by my colleague, Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch, there is actually an idea for how to ensure that teachers can be fairly paid. So actually in AB 72, which we're hearing right after this, there is a provision that allows for them says that they wouldn't have to make up the time for being absent from work to carry on their duties as a part of that committee or take annual leave or compensatory time for their absence. So I think that language might fix it so that they can just be, like, that could be a part of that workday.
Steve Yeager for the record. I would hope that every member would just have a blast doing this when they're out there, but I think that's a good suggestion. And I think we have that in other areas of the statute too, that you don't have to take a day off of work. You know, I don't think this commission's going to meet a ton, right? Maybe once a quarter to get it done. But thank you for that suggestion. I'll take a look at Assembly Bill 72.
Thank you. I'll be presenting that so I can just tell you what's going on. Okay, now we're going to hear some testimony on the bill. You can provide in person here in Carson City, in Las Vegas, or telephonically. Further instructions for providing testimony on the bill over the phone can be found right on our agenda. So please try to keep your remarks to the point and avoid repetition. So first we'll hear testimony in support of AB 164. Please come up to the table and fill up the chairs. I see someone down in Las Vegas, so I'm going to go to Vegas first because I think there's just one person down there. So please go ahead. I believe it's Miss Bray.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Advisory Committee on Education. My name is Sheila Bray with the University of Nevada, Reno. The University of Nevada, Reno is in support of Assembly Bill 164. We thank Assemblyman Yeager for bringing forth this bill with a focus on outdoor education and outdoor recreation for youth in Nevada. The University of Nevada, Reno is home to Extension, or as many may refer to it, Cooperative Extension, that leads community-based education throughout our state. One of our largest programs is 4-H Youth Development. 4-H is a learn-by-doing life skills program that teaches youth communication, self-concept, team building, problem solving, conflict resolution, and much more. In this program, youth learn by projects, inter after school, and in a variety of subjects ranging from animal science to nutrition, leadership, public speaking, horticulture, and other science and technology programs. Among these, outdoor recreation and outdoor education programs are among the top experiences our 4-H youth offers throughout our great state. In fact, we now have 2 4-H camps, our state camp at Lake Tahoe and our newest camp facility in Lincoln County. We echo sentiments of the committee that outdoor experiences are vital for development throughout the lifespan. We look forward to ways you and our extension and our state 4-H youth development program can engage with this council to build inclusion and access for our youth. We encourage your support on this bill.
Thank you, Ms. Bray. So now we're in Carson City, and Mr. Marks, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Alexander Marks with the Nevada State Education Association. We support Assembly Bill 164 to better incorporate outdoor recreation into the curriculum of public schools. NSA was proud to support AB 385 in 2017 and AB 331 in 2019, extending outdoor opportunities to Nevada students. As we've heard, many educators and schools already incorporate outdoor education into their curriculum to improve academics, personal health, and appreciation of nature. We believe the Outdoor Education Advisory Working Group will be a good opportunity to discuss best practices and make recommendations to ensure outdoor education is available to every Nevada student. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Outdoor Business Coalition. And I'd first like to say the speaker is like the poster child for outdoor recreation as far as speakers go throughout this entire country. If you look at his Facebook page, tens of thousands of miles he spent running around this great state. He's one of the few people I know, except for the head of state parks, that's actually visited all 27 of our state parks. So for him to bring this legislation is fantastic. The other thing that I want to bring to your attention is in 2019, we were the lead lobbyists working with the conservation community to create the Division of Outdoor Recreation. This is a natural progression of that work. Before the pandemic, everything was like going really, really well for the outdoor recreation industry, and then it got hit really hard. But what did we see? We saw hundreds of thousands of people go outside because that was the only place that they were comfortable. Our urban trails and urban parks were flooded with new visitors. people that didn't necessarily know how to take care of the places that they were now experiencing. And I would hope that this kind of a working advisory group would put into the curriculum in our schools the respect that our natural resources need and deserve. As part of the creation of the Division of Outdoor Recreation, a big part of that was joining the confluence of states. And so there's somewhat around 20 states now that are parts of that confluence. That confluence is built on 4 pillars. The second pillar is education. So to have this kind of a working group that is looking in the interim at what we can do to encourage, educate, and bring those youth from urban and rural parts of our state to experience and enjoy the outdoor recreation that surrounds us is phenomenal. I think it's a great next step. I would put one word of caution. When we were creating the Division of Outdoor Recreation, we also created an advisory board. Now, it's an advisory board. It's not a policy board like this is. I was asked by no short of 100 people to be on that advisory board. And I finally threw my arms in the air and said, we only have 24 hours left. We have to stop this amendment of this bill. What's important to note is these folks need someone to talk to. They need someone as witnesses to come forward and talk about their programs. And many times when you're sitting on the dais, you don't get that opportunity. So this working group has the ability to reach out to the OHV community and the state parks and the Nevada Outdoor Business Coalition, which has absolutely no interest in being on this working group because we want to testify in every single group meeting that they have. I love the idea, and we did it for the division as well, of including in the legislation the ability for private companies, federal governments, other folks to provide grants and resources to pay for things like school buses, to pay for meetings, to pay for those kinds of things that will bring these groups together in the integral places that they need to do their business. So I applaud the speaker for bringing this bill forward. It is a natural extension of the creation of the Division of Outdoor Recreation, and I urge your support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Annette Magnus, and I'm the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress. We are here today testifying in strong support of Assembly Bill 164, and just like the speaker before me, we helped to also create the Office of Outdoor Recreation in 2019, and we're very proud of that work and this work as well. Some of my favorite field trips growing up in Las Vegas were to Red Rock and Mount Charleston, and they contributed to my love of our national parks and our state parks all around this state. We all know the benefits of outdoor recreation can have for our physical and mental well-being, but also our economy. SB 164 would facilitate incorporating outdoor recreation in our public education system, benefiting our young people and teaching them the value of our open spaces and our public lands. During the pandemic, we saw a spike in young people suffering from mental health issues, and we know spending time outdoors can help address that. So many of us used our outdoor spaces as a reprieve during that time. We know young people starting to value and be educated about our outdoor spaces at a young age is critical to protecting our environment for future generations. We hope that this committee will support this bill, and we want to thank Speaker Yeager for sponsoring it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christy Cabrera-Georgeson, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League. We did submit a letter to Nellis that goes through why we think this is such a great bill, all of the benefits of getting kids outside, so I won't reiterate all of that. But I did grow up in Reno, and I went through the Washoe County School District. And some of my fondest memories are field trips to the Oxbow study area right on the Truckee River and the Galena Regional Creek Park. Every child should be able to have those experiences. Those cemented my love for nature and the great outdoors and my appreciation for all of the opportunities Nevada has to offer, and eventually led to a career advocating for our environment. Growing up, my mom was an elementary school teacher, and so I was so excited in 2017 when AB 385 was passed. Every year since then, she told all of her teacher friends about the program, and many of them didn't know it existed. So I firmly believe that passing this, incorporating outdoor education more into our education system, will allow teachers and students to know more about that program, all of the other great opportunities Nevada has to offer, and really stifle or create a love for the outdoors. We'd like to thank the speaker for being a consistent advocate for getting kids outside, and we urge the committee's support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Dr. Mary Przinski, and I'm here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, an organization that encompasses all the 17 superintendents in the state. I want to thank the speaker for bringing all of this forward, because it's so important for our young people to get outside and really learn how wonderful it is to be outdoors and see our parks, and it'll be something that sticks with them the rest of their lives as they grow up. I want to thank Assemblywoman Taylor for mentioning that on this committee there should be a superintendent, because they're the ones who have to make everything work in the school districts, and I think that their oversight and their voice on the committee would be very important. Also, I hope that the teachers who are assigned to work on the committee are those who are used to putting together curriculum and very knowledgeable in the physical activities that kids should be involved in school. So thank you. We're in support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no one else in the room, we will go to the phone lines. BPS, do we have callers on the line who are in support of AB 164?
Testify in support of AB 164, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in support of AB 164, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to provide support testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will go to opposition. Do we have anyone in opposition to the bill in the room? Not seeing anyone walk up. Anyone in Las Vegas? Not seeing anyone approaching. BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line who is in opposition to the speaker's bill?
To testify in opposition to AB 164, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to provide opposition testimony at this time.
Okay, we will close opposition and move to neutral. Anyone in the room in neutral on AB, please come forward. 164.
Good afternoon, Chair Billy Axelrod and members of the committee. My name is Matthew Weintraub, and I serve as Deputy Administrator for the Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation, otherwise known as NDOR. The division is neutral, currently on Assembly Bill 164. NDOR's mission is to advance and promote world-class, sustainable outdoor recreation opportunities throughout Nevada, and among NDOR's goals are to affirm outdoor recreation's role in improving public health and wellness, to increase community capacity for outdoor recreation and stewardship. To accomplish this, it is important to pursue programs and partnerships that support diverse opportunities for incorporating outdoor education into pre-K through 12 and post-secondary educational programs. NDOR's Nevada Outdoor Education and Recreation Grant Program, otherwise known as the Kids in Parks Bill, the No Child Left Inside Bill, as previously created by the legislature and proposed for funding this coming biennium. It has the potential to serve as a supportive, adjoining state effort to create opportunities for youth engagement with their local outdoor spaces in school and in extracurricular activities. Recommendations of the working group in this proposed bill may elicit projects that are eligible for grant funding. Further, the working group could serve as a catalyst for partnerships and future opportunities to increase the prevalence of outdoor education in Nevada, bringing together a plethora of known academic, health, and behavior benefits for students and for schools. Nevada's public schools have the potential to be exemplary settings for implementing outdoor recreation into the lives of Nevada's youth. Access to the outdoor spaces is the hallmark of many Nevada communities, though often without program connections to our educational system. However, expert recommendations paired with grant dollars can start to change that dynamic and afford our communities, especially those which are currently under-resourced, greater access to local outdoor spaces and to promote regular outdoor activity. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in neutral? Anyone in Las Vegas in the neutral position on AB 164? Anyone on the phone lines?
To give neutral testimony on 164, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no one wishing to give neutral testimony on the bill.
Great, thank you. And with that, I will close neutral testimony. Mr. Speaker, did you want to make any final remarks? Sure.
Steve Yeager for the record. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, thank you for giving me almost 45 minutes for this bill hearing. And I want to say thank you to those who showed up today to testify in support. Thank you for the good questions. I've got some good suggestions to take back and work on a potential amendment. And as always, my door is open. If you think of questions or suggestions after this hearing, please let me know. I just really appreciate the time and the consideration, and I'll bring something back to you for your consideration for a work session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will close the hearing on AB 164, and I will now turn the gavel over to my vice chair, and then we will begin the hearing on AB 72.
Okay, all set. Thank you, Chair. Ready to go. We will now open the hearing on AB 72, and this measure creates the Advisory Committee on the Safety and Well-Being of Teachers. And to present this measure, we have a very familiar face, our Chair, Bilbray Axelrod. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Assemblywoman Shannon Bilbray Axelrod, representing Assembly District 34 in Clark County, and I'm here presenting Assembly Bill 72, which creates the Advisory Committee on the Safety and Well-Being of Teachers. The bill before you today is a recommendation from the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education. I had the pleasure of serving Vice Chair to then Senator Mo Dennis, who served as Chair of the Interim Educational Committee, alongside several colleagues who are here in the room today, including Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblywoman Hardy, who will be here soon, and Assemblywoman Thomas. I'd first like to begin with some brief background information that explains what really led to this recommendation. School safety has become a primary concern of recent years in both Nevada and nationally. We've heard of multiple instances of teachers in our state being threatened or attacked in the classroom. Just for context, I know many of you are teachers, so you might not need this context, but I just wanted to remind an article that says the lead line from April of last year is 3 Clark County School District teachers attacked at separate schools, 3 students arrested in the same day. At 9:15 a.m., a teacher defended himself with a chair from a 14-year-old freshman, pulled out a knife out of her backpack and threatened him with it at Foothill High School. The teacher was able to escape, thankfully. Grant Sawyer Middle School, a teacher was assaulted once again by a student. A 15-year-old girl in 8th grade threatened school staff with a pair of scissors. And finally on that day, in the evening at Palo Verde High School, a male senior, 17, entered a classroom he did not belong in. When asked to leave, teacher. He pushed him pushed the teacher several times before fleeing. To say this has become an epidemic would be an understatement, I believe. And teachers are feeling it. I'm hearing from my constituents that they're scared, and no one should have to go to work and not feel safe. Furthermore, in 2022, Education Weekly publication noted that 4 out of 10 teachers feel less safe in school now than they did 5 years ago. I think there's many things that attribute to that, and I think that's why this advisory committee is so important. The publication itself listed a range of issues from school shootings to increased student and parent aggression as contributing factors to this rise. Additionally, safety issues in schools may contribute to the retention of teachers, and we know that's a problem. The American Psychological Association Task Force on Violence Against Educators and School Personnel conducted a national year-long survey of violence against these personnel starting in June of 2020. The task force found that 49% of teachers surveyed expressed a desire to or plan to quit or transfer their jobs due to concern about school climate and safety. As we talked about today when I made my floor speech, most people go into teaching, they say it's not just a job, it's a calling. So imagine these teachers are willing to leave because of their own personal safety or the school climate. Thus, it's necessary we focus on the safety and well-being of teachers, and this advisory committee will help identify and address these important issues and work towards solutions, which is the intent of AB 72. Now I will review some specifics of the bill. Section 3 creates the Advisory Committee on the Safety and Well-being of Teachers. It also outlines certain provisions for the advisory committee, including who makes up the membership, the term details for the members, and certain conditions guiding meetings and members. Section 4 of the bill outlines the duties of the advisory committee, which include reviewing, investigating, and making certain recommendations concerning any issues relating to the safety and well-being of teachers in the consistent implementation of discipline of pupils. Finally, I want to say I urge your support to provide a safe environment. And I know, once again, I'm talking to a lot of teachers up here, but I had the opportunity to actually go to El Dorado High School just days after the horrific attack where a teacher was sexually assaulted, and left for dead. I didn't know what it was going to be like walking into that room. I didn't know how we were going to be received. It was myself and 2 other legislative colleagues. And when I walked in there were a lot of tears and a lot of thankfulness that we were there. And these teachers, overwhelmingly, many of them had actually gone to school at El Dorado, just wanted for it to change. They didn't want to give up on these kids. They still don't want to give up on these kids. We don't want to give up on these kids. But it has to be a safe place. No one deserves to go to a job where they don't feel respected and safe and cared for. These are our teachers. These are our people who are teaching the next generation of us and presidents and doctors. We need to respect them, and we need to show our kids that they need to respect them. So I hope that this advisory committee will do just a small part in that. And I know many people have reached out to me with possible tweaks to the bill. I am open to them. I am presenting the bill as it was written, but I am open to suggestions to making this better. And I do defer to, like I said, so many of you as being actually on the ground. So with that, I will open it to questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, well, we can open it together. It's okay. No, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that impassioned plea surrounding the reason for this bill. We do have some questions, and what a surprise, Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And thank you, Chair, for bringing forward the language, but more importantly, for recognizing what's happening to the profession that I love and that my parents and grandparents and great-grandparents loved as well. So thank you for that. My question has to do with, though, the term teachers. And I'm proud to be a teacher, as you know, but I also recognize that there's no way I can do my job without our support professionals. And our bus drivers are also continually under attack. And so are our aides in our classrooms. And so I understand the word teacher is in there, but I was wondering if there's been any discussion about also including our support professionals who, quite frankly, I cannot do my job without them.
Thank you for the question. Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod. For the record, absolutely, and that's one of the things that I was talking about. I've had an onslaught of different conceptual amendments come at me. Absolutely, I think this is needs a holistic approach to looking at what the issue is. That final example I gave at Palo Verde, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, since it was the evening, it was a support staff that was assaulted. So absolutely, I think the term teachers was sort of used when we first started talking about it, but I'm open to, and you're absolutely right, the bus driver situation has become pretty horrific as well, and God love them for agreeing to drive a busload of kids. I mean, I get upset when I have to drive like 3 kids. It's a lot. So, and just knowing that you are fearful about what's going on in your bus as well. So thank you for the suggestion, and I'm happy to work with you as well.
Follow up, if I may. And thank you. I think most of us recognize when you say teachers, most people also assume it has to do with the support professionals. The other item that I just want to bring up as well, it's very similar to our last discussion as well. I do think we have to be aware that violence against educators is also impacting our future individuals who want to become teachers. And so I'm wondering if you would also be open to having a student, maybe a possible high school student or a college student that would also be on it, because I know that when I've been in a situation where a student was incredibly rude to me, luckily no violence, it impacted my students that were in my classroom as well. And so it is not just my peers that become impacted when there's violence against us, it's also our students. So I'm wondering if that's another element. I recognize, however, you don't want to make it 60,000 people, but that's just another consideration of a student and how the violence against educators are impacting students.
And we can have additional talks online. That's the first I've thought about that specifically, but possibly a student who's at the collegiate level, maybe becoming a teacher. What are the obstacles that I often say to people, one of our biggest obstacles, at least in Clark County, is if you Google, is Clark County School District a good place to work? What do you think comes up? So, and I happen to believe in my heart of hearts it is. It is. So, so yes, I will continue to have those conversations.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. We'll go to Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch, followed by Assemblywoman Thomas, and then by Assemblywoman Torres.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you, Chair, for recognizing what is the reality for those of us who are in the classroom, which is increasing violence, threats to safety, and real fearfulness on the part of many of our educators, and I appreciate you acknowledging that publicly. My question is on Section 4 with what this committee is meant to do, because I think many times our educators are asked, fill out this survey, join this task force, come and give us your opinion, and educators get hopeful, someone is finally listening to me, someone is finally going to do something, and then it goes nowhere. And that I think crushes morale worse than not acknowledging it, right? Like acknowledging and then doing nothing. And so I just want to ask, what specifically will be done with this committee? Are we looking at giving them a BDR request? Are we giving them some authority to direct changes within these organizations? What is the concrete actionable steps they can take?
Thank you for the question. I would say, so it's listed out as the advisory committee shall review, investigate, and make recommendations to the legislature. Unfortunately, we're bound to say what the next legislative session has to do. I didn't really think about giving a BDR for the same reasons that Speaker in the last bill. However, this is a committee bill, so I believe the intent for me personally is to take those recommendations and see some concrete actions go forward. That being said, we're all up for election next time. It could be a whole new face of people, and who knows what would happen. And that's the unfortunate, or some people might say fortunate, part of the fact that we are up for re-election every 2 years. The intent of this bill, though, as far as coming from me personally, if I am here, I very much intend to take those recommendations and turn them into BDR, most likely through the Education Committee, and go forward. I can't imagine that if I'm not sitting in that chair position, that whoever would take over for me wouldn't have that same feeling, but I don't know how you can put in, but for obviously giving it a BDR, but it's very difficult to give the next legislative session their marching orders, because it's a whole new thing. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I can just speak for me personally on my intent.
I think if I may just follow up.
Go ahead.
I appreciate that intent, and I think that intent is very clear. I just know, as an educator who has been part of many, many, many working groups that went nowhere, that oftentimes when we ask our educators to put in the hours, and especially without compensation to do this, the first thing they say is, so I'm going to go again, I'm going to spend 20 hours and no one's going to listen to me. And I think that's become the trend. And so I would just love if we could put any specificity in there that we were going to do something that we could. But I understand the limitations that you are describing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. We'll go now to Assemblywoman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and thank you for the presentation, Chair. My question actually, as you know, and as you indicated, I was also on the interim committee this past summer. My question actually has always been, because I'm not an educator and I don't play one on TV. I am, though, a mother, a grandmother, and that my children are students in CCSD. So my question to this bill is it possible, because we're always saying that parents should be involved, to involve a parent in here as one of the advisory council members? Because I think it's important for our parents to have a voice and to see what's happening. Because, you know, when our children act out, some viciously, we have some parents that really don't believe it, that it could be their child, and we have parents that will defend the action of that child that's acting out. And I think that it's necessary for, you know, we have to backtrack a little bit and be active as PTA members, that we don't have that active PTAs right now that we hear about, and I think that it's necessary for parents to be involved. So if you could consider putting a parent into this advisory.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Thomas, for the recommendation. And I said I'm having many conversations in the next coming couple weeks we have before committee passage. So I will definitely take that into consideration.
Thank you so much, and we have Assemblywoman Torres next. Are there any other questions from the committee? Over here. Okay, Assemblywoman.
Thank you, Chair, for this presentation. Obviously, I think it's really critical that we're making sure that we're keeping our campuses safe for our students and teachers, because I think that violence against teachers in classroom impacts our students and the entire school community. My question was regarding Section 3 of the bill. Specifically, it says in sub 7, line 37, that the advisory committee shall meet at least once in the first calendar year. I don't know that that's like just, it doesn't outline like a requirement of how often they have to meet. I do think that there should be a little bit more specificity to how often they should meet. Additionally, I think it might be helpful if we outline like that when that report to the, I would hope the interim education committee from this conversation, when that report to the interim education committee is due, and have it due before that committee is required to submit the BDRs, and when before they vote on it, so that those can be considered for BDRs from that interim committee, which would solve that issue of, I mean, all of us are elected and selected body will change. However, that would allow for that interim education committee to make those recommendations.
Kills me to say, but that is an excellent recommendation, Assemblywoman Torres. I'm just kidding. That is an excellent recommendation, and thank you. I think you're absolutely right, because I have it called out here as the chair is frequently required to perform its duties, but maybe even say a minimum of four times with the report due by, and I think if it was September, August 30th-ish. Realizing that summertime is going to be the easiest for a lot of teachers, so maybe we have more talking offline. No, and I tease you. You always bring great suggestions. So
I look forward to continuing to work with you, Chair.
All right, sounds good.
Last call. Any more questions from the committee? Okay, before we go to testimony, I just anyway, I won't even say that. My question was, when will the report be due? But I just want to thank the interim committee for bringing this to the forefront. A lot of conversation, a lot of things happening, and I think there's a big difference between being safe and feeling safe. If you look at pure numbers, you might say, oh, people are safer numbers-wise, but the fact of the matter is our educators don't feel safe as a whole. Teachers, ESPs, bus drivers, the whole thing. And I think we can say this is true for all over the state. And our job as elected officials, whether now, whether it's in the next session, is to keep people safe. So thank you for that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Okay, we're going to open it up for testimony now. So we're going to start here in Carson City. Here in Carson City, do we have anyone here in Carson City who would like to testify in support of AB 72? We'll open up for support testimony now. Come forward. Please come forward. And please, just as a reminder, state your name and spell it for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przinski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents. We're in support of this bill. It's so important that we have safety for our teachers in the classroom. It's important not just for the people who are there now, but when we talk about teacher pipeline, we don't want, I'm scared to be in the classroom. One of our mantras that we hear from young people, that they don't want to teach because it's a frightening position to be in. So thank you. We're in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone here in Carson City who would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 72? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to, I don't think there's anyone there. There's someone kind of hiding in Las Vegas. They're there for the next one. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. That's what happens when you're the chair. You have insider information. Okay, so no one there in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone on the phones wishing to testify in support of AB 72?
To testify in support of AB 72, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, it seems we have no one wishing to testify in support at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now go to opposition. Do we have anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 72? Please go right ahead, and once again, a reminder, please state and spell your name for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Daly, DALY, Nevada State Education Association, the voice of Nevada educators for over 120 years. Very sorry that the rules have put us at the opposition table because we very much support the focus on safety in our schools. As a matter of fact, NSCA launched the Respect Educators Act largely out of concern for the safety and well-being of educators who have faced, I think, a severe uptick in violence and safety concerns at their workplace. We did submit language about a possible amendment to expand the scope of this advisory committee to include educators who experience violence in addition to teachers. We know that teachers face this, but so do education support professionals, and we would associate ourselves with a lot of the discussion that happened at this committee. Did want to point out the case of Edwin Duarte, who's a campus security monitor at Rancho High School, who was brutally assaulted in October. We hear almost day to day about paraprofessionals, especially specialized programs teaching assistants or SPTAs, and bus drivers who face this as well. Look forward to working with the sponsor of this bill and getting either this or our idea of a restorative justice monitoring committee to the point where we can actually impact the conditions at our schools and improve the safety and well-being of all of our educators. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else here in Carson City to testify in opposition? Okay, seeing none, we will go to, doesn't look like anyone has joined us in Las Vegas. If so, please come forward now. And not seeing anyone, we'll go to the phones. BPS, do we have anyone joining us in opposition of Assembly Bill 72?
Testify in opposition to AB 72, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, to testify in opposition to AB 72, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no one who wishes to testify in opposition at this time.
Okay, thank you so much, BPS. And then finally, anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify neutral on this bill, Assembly Bill 72? Okay, seeing none, don't see anyone in Las Vegas, but give you that opportunity to come forward at this time. Okay, there's no movement there, so BPS, do we have anyone on the phones wishing to testify neutral for AB 72?
To give neutral testimony on AB 72, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, it seems we have no one wishing to give neutral testimony at this time.
Okay, thank you so much, BPS. Madam Chair, any closing comments for us?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, Assemblywoman Shannon Bilbray-Axelrod, for the record. I thank Mr. Daly for knowing that he had to come in opposition. I do think that Bill has a little bit of work to do, but I think it's not too far. And I just want teachers to know, and support staff and bus drivers and anyone who is involved on a day-to-day basis with our kids, that we thank you and we are worried about you. And on this SEL week, we know it can be tough. So we're doing everything in our power and we're open to suggestions. And I just thank you for hearing this bill.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you for bringing it forward. So I'll now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 72, and we'll turn the gavel back over to Chair Bilbray-Axelrod.
Okay, now I will open the hearing on AB 73. This measure provides the right of public school pupils to wear certain adornments at school graduation ceremonies. To present this measure that came out of the Joint Interim Committee as well, we have Assemblyman De Silva, and it looks like you have two folks next to you. I recognize one. Hi, Sydney, nice to see you. And please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I am Assemblyman Ruben De Silva, representing Assembly District 28 in Clark County. I am presenting Assembly Bill 73, which provides for the right of public school pupils to wear certain adornments at school graduation ceremonies. The bill before you today is a recommendation from the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education. I would like to first begin with some brief background information that explains what led to this recommendation. Our students often look forward to their high school graduations for years. However, for certain students, this day can come with also significant frustrations. The U.S. News and World Report narrates that across the country, students have been barred from wearing tribal regalia or certain other adornments during graduation ceremonies. The American Civil Liberties Union, the NAACP, and many other organizations have further explained that such items, which may be gifts from parents or tribal elders, are of significant spiritual and cultural importance. Several Nevada parents and students spoke about prohibitions restricting these adornments for graduation during the Interim Education Committee's meetings. Recognizing the importance of this issue, the Interim Committee voted unanimously to put this bill forward to address this issue. I will now review the specifics of this bill. First, it establishes that a public school pupil, including without limitations, a pupil of a university school for profoundly gifted pupils, is entitled to wear traditional tribal regalia or recognized objects of religious or cultural significance as an adornment at a school graduation ceremony. The bill also concurrently outlines the abilities of certain school governing bodies to prohibit items that may cause a substantial disruption of or material interference with the ceremony. Finally, this bill defines certain terms used within this bill. I urge your support for AB 73. Graduation should be an occasion of celebration for all students, and this bill will help to ensure that our students will be able to celebrate their academic achievements while also celebrating their cultures and their identities. Thank you for considering AB 73. I will now turn things over to my co-presenters, Sydney Williams and Evan Robinson, both of whom have very important testimonies on this issue.
Good afternoon, Chair Bilberry Axelrod and members of the committee. My name is Sydney Williams. I am a senior attending Douglas High School, and I'm a proud member of the Walker River Paiute tribe based in Schurz, Nevada. I want to thank Assemblyman De Silva for inviting me to present this bill with him, and I want to thank the members of the Interim Education Committee for agreeing to introduce this legislation. Last year, my cousin was unable to wear his beaded cap during his graduation ceremony, only being told so about 3 weeks before the ceremony itself. As his cap had already been made, he spoke with the principal and was told that if he wished to wear something from his culture, it would have to be under his gown where it could not be seen, and that if he chose to wear his cap in his ceremony, he would not walk the stage. As a Native American who grew up off of my reservation, I already feel as though I am not doing enough to stay connected to my culture, and I know that I am not the only one. Depriving Native students of this experience can damage their mental health during a time that should focus on the celebration of their academic accomplishments. Schooling has been on the forefront of students' minds for the vast majority of their lives, with graduation being a driving force behind the pursuit of their education. Students are told that their graduation day is there to celebrate their hard work, but it can hardly be a celebratory occasion when a student is told to put aside a part of themselves and hide it to satisfy the ideals of others. We've gone through 13 years of school, and we have earned our degrees. I would hope that school officials would recognize that and that we have done the responsible thing in earning our degrees, and that we are capable of making decisions with respect to the education we received. In Las Vegas, Latino students were prevented from wearing stoles that were important to their culture. Polynesian students are sometimes challenged to wear leis, which have significance to their culture and to their families. I was a freshman when the pandemic caused the closure of schools. It was an incredibly hard time for me, and I'm sure it was for a multitude of other students. Given the challenges that we faced, it is unfortunate that we have to come forward and ask for legislation to allow us to express who we are on our graduation stage. It is unfortunate that there is a lack of trust by officials that we can't handle and be responsible about it. I'm here advocating for us to wear cultural items that are meaningful to us as a Native American student, but I believe that all students should be able to adorn their caps in ways that show their uniqueness and that they can be trusted to do it in a way that is not disrespectful to our ceremony. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to express my support for this bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good afternoon. Excuse me, I'm a little under the weather, but good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Assembly Committee on Education. My name is Evan Robinson, and I am currently a double major in political science and gender, race, and identity at the University of Nevada, Reno. And I'm speaking in support of Assembly Bill 73, which establishes the rights of public school pupils to wear regalia related to their culture during graduation ceremonies. This is an important measure I would like to see passed, as I recently graduated from Rancho High School in Las Vegas in 2022 and had to fight for the right to wear my cultural items at graduation. The Rancho High community and I did this by spreading a petition, talking with administrators, and giving public comment to school board members. We then organized a peaceful demonstration in front of Rancho High School, which garnered news attention and caused Superintendent Jara to delegate the decision to individual schools. If this bill were enacted, it would standardize that choice to all public schools within Nevada, guaranteeing representation for every culture, heritage, and identity. Graduating from an educational institution is a celebration of not only passing test scores and grades, but of culture and identity. Many students want to showcase this to their family, friends, and peers. The time to pass this bill and create representation for marginalized groups is long overdue. Although this bill cannot make up for the years of mistreatment my people have suffered in America, it is one of the many necessary protections that are needed to begin healing racial problems within our community. Thank you for hearing my voice, and I look forward to seeing this change enacted, and I'm also happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we're always very moved when we have students coming up to testify. It's very meaningful for us, so thank you for taking the time out of your day. With that, I guess we'll open it to questions. I'm going to actually start. I was, and I apologize, under the assumption we were going to be working off of a amendment that had some sort of, if a school board denied it, that we would go to, is anyone? Assemblywoman Anderson wants to take the blame.
I 100% take that blame, Chair. Thank you for bringing this forward. I had mentioned to the chair, as well as I believe to Assemblymember Kewen, about Silver, about if there's an appeal process, if that is a possibility. And then some snow happened, and I completely forgot to bring that up. So I'm more than happy to bring forward an appeal process that has to do with Section 1.2, that if a Board of Trustees makes a decision that it's a substantial disruption, that then there's a probability of bringing that forward. So please accept my apology, Chair, for not doing so.
You are fine, and I'm happy to work with you too, because I have some ideas on that as well. So, okay, other questions? Assemblywoman Torres.
Thank you. And this might be maybe a better question for legal, who I know is not present, or our research staff, so we might get it later. But given the conversation today regarding like tribal regalia that might be worn on our head, and then the requirement that a cap be worn over that, technically with the definition of adornment here that's used in Section 1 of the bill, that still would not cover that. So if that is the intent of the bill, I do think that we need some clarifying language, because the definition that's used in the legislation says that it cannot replace the cap and gown that is customarily worn at school graduation ceremonies. So I think that if that is the intent, and it seems that it is, then we might want to look at that definition a little bit more.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Assemblywoman.
Go direct, please.
I do agree with you. This is also something that was brought to my attention very recently, and I think there is some a need to clarify the language there, because the bill clearly states cap and gown, and that these adornments are supposed to be worn as part and parcel of the cap and gown for the graduation ceremony. But I know that sometimes headgear is very important and culturally significant to some of the communities that will be participating in these graduation ceremonies. So I think that that is a warranted question that we should examine the definition of regalia vis-a-vis a headgear. Thank you.
Doesn't look like we have any other questions, and I know we have a lot of testimony, so we will have you sit back, and I will open it up for testimony in support. We have two people already up in Las Vegas, so if you guys want to begin, just make sure you state and spell your name if you would before you begin. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Sharonda Ramos. It's S-H-A, capital R-H-O-N-D-A, R-A-M-O-S. I am the mother of a high school junior, and the opportunity for him to have spent 13 years in school with the support of our culture, learning through church, learning through the arts community of which he's been a part of and received many different awards for this, for him to be able to say that he completed this process and walk across that stage showing the pride in all of the people that have supported him throughout this time and 13 entire years and all of the summers and extracurriculars that he's put into this, to be able to walk across the stage and proudly show that to all of the people that have put into him that he has done it is just a huge monumental thing for us. We support that for everyone, and this community has so many different cultures here to navigate that and be able to allow them to come without being obviously noisily disruptive or having things too large for people to see behind, but being able to wear that regalia, whatever it may be, however it may be, so that it isn't offensive, but it is absolutely representative of that student is very important, and we absolutely support that here.
Is this your son? Is he speaking? Okay. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Devin, D-E-V-E-N, and I am a junior at Las Vegas Academy of the Arts. And I think that is very important for everybody to wear what they think is important to themselves and to their memorabilia, such as where they come from, like awards or just like church, anywhere outside of school that means something to them, not just because it's there, but because it's a part of their life and it's a part of where they come from and where they need to be and where they want to be. And if that's what they want to graduate with and continue with for the rest of their lives, then that's what they should end with and walk away with. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Could you give us your last name?
Crawford, C-R-A-W-F-O-R-D.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Thank you for the testimony. Is there anyone else in Vegas wishing to provide testimony? Nope. Okay. We will come to Carson City. Please begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Lanahan, Jennifer-Lanahan, and I'm here testifying on behalf of the Las Vegas Paiute Tribe and the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. We want to thank the Assemblyman for bringing this bill forth, and we are fully supportive right now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Marla McDade Williams, M-A-R-L-A-M-C-D-A-D-E-W-I-L-I-A-M-S. For me, this is an issue of fairness. As you know, students can't really choose which public high school they attend. They don't have the option of being at a school that might honor their culture and their differences. Some high schools allow students to matriculate wearing their cultural items and others don't. It's all up to the administration of a school. And while I recognize that being a leader is difficult and you can't please everyone, I think it's past time that high schools place these restrictions on matriculating students. My daughter was one of two young women representing Nevada who were selected to attend Girls Nation in Washington, D.C. over the summer. The other was Samantha Glover, who many of you know. At Girl State, this issue is one that my daughter made as part of her legislative package. She had an opportunity to vet it with other young women throughout Nevada, and there wasn't any true opposition to the proposal. And I am encouraged by the discussion about an appeal process because I think it's important and that those decisions be made timely if there's a decision against an item. In closing, I want to say that I have always appreciated citizen access to the legislative process. This is one of those measures that truly starts with one person being willing to step up and advocate for change that recognizes our state's diversity and moves us toward inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman and members of the committee. My name is Eric Cheng, ERICJENG, here on behalf of One API Nevada, and I'm the acting executive director. We're in full support of AB 73. We want to thank Assemblyman Silva for bringing up this proposal. For us, on the post-secondary level, our partner organization, ACDC, Asian Community Development Council, has co-hosted Graduation, and for the record, that's Graduation spelled with Asian, ASIAN, for UNLV with UNR, Nevada State, and CSM for many years, where we get to celebrate students with their Asian Pacific Islander heritage, where they were able to bring their cultural adornment and decorate the full decked out with their families, and being able to show that pride, be able to honor their ancestors' sacrifices, their families' sacrifices to be there, and being able to see this on to high school, where more than 7% of the high school students are Asian American, Pacific Islander, and Native Hawaiian, is something that we would love to see, we would love to support. So thank you so much. We're in full support.
Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Voskov, Amanda Vaskov. I'm with ASUN, UNR's undergraduate population. I'd like to bring attention to the letter of support from UNR Multicultural Greek Council for this bill in your exhibits. They quote, support AB 73 because their organization is made up of university students, but they were in high school at one point in their lives. According to their letter of support, Multicultural Greek Council at UNR urges this committee to codify protections for K-12 students to honor their educational success in a way that their families and communities of origins understand. Address. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Adrian Tom. My people come from the Las Vegas Paiute tribe, the Mapabana Paiutes, and also the Fallon Paiute Shoshone tribe. I'm also Lakota from the Fort Peck Sioux tribe of Montana. But right now, I work as an education specialist for the Fallon Paiute Shoshone tribe, and we're in support of AD 73. The county I work in won't allow our kids to even wear the regalia. And when you talk about the regalia, it's more of, when you call this graduation a ceremony, we are ceremonial people that like to wear our ceremonial stuff that was given to us. A lot of our students don't graduate that come from the res. So when we graduate, we earn a feather that we like to wear on our hat and cap and gown that we hang off to the side or whatever. It doesn't interfere with anything else of the traditional graduation gear they wear. And when you talk about replacing any of the gear, what they do is they bead the cap and gown, and a lot of people pay a lot of money for this beadwork. And earning beadwork is also part of our tradition. So when you call this a ceremony, we are ceremonial people and like to wear some ceremonial stuff we have earned, and a lot of it's a feather and beadwork. So we're the Fallon Paiute Shoshone tribe. We're in support of AD 73. Thank you.
Hi, Alexander Marks with the Nevada State Education Association. We echo the sentiments, and we are in full support of AB 73.
Good afternoon. I'm Stacy Montooth. I'm a citizen of the Walker River Paiute Nation, and on behalf of my family, including 27 second cousins who are all attending public high schools in Nevada and who are looking forward to wearing beaded motorboards when they graduate, please support this legislation. Further, I'm the executive director of the Nevada Indian Commission, and I've discussed this important legislation with my supervisors, and I again ask you to support this important legislation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Meg McDonald. I'm a member of the Washoe tribe of Nevada and California based out in Gardnerville. And Well, first, I would like to say I see a familiar face in Angie Taylor from Reno. I just remembered her from my daughter was president of the UNR Native Alumni, and so Angie was our go-to person at the time at UNR, and I know you were president of the Washoe County School Board. So, but anyway, I would like to say I am in support of this bill, and I have a granddaughter that's a senior at Reed High School in Reno, or Sparks, and she plans to be wearing a beaded cap, and hopefully with the eagle feather. But I do want to see this, that you be in support of this, and I am definitely in support of this also. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Georgia Grace Stick, and then I'm in support of this AB 73, and I liked what everybody had to say, in all their testimonies. And it's so important, for our children, the students, that will be graduating from high school and our colleges, and even the younger ones, from Head Start even. So, and it is so important because, the caps and the gowns, or the caps and the eagle feathers and the regalia that they will be wearing, like the ribbon skirts, or their dresses, their buckskin dresses, or their buckskin outfits that they have, those are traditional to our Paiute people, and anyway, and other tribes too. So, and it really makes the children, the students, have pride, in who they are, and they look forward to it. The families look forward to it. I know in our family, we're always looking for like eagle feathers, or getting someone to bead, the caps, and it takes time, and it takes months sometimes for them to do the beadwork on the caps, and us being like First Nations people, we do need that because, we've been deprived of a lot of things, throughout history. So anyway, I am in support of it, of this AB 73, and I hope that, you guys will, make the change that you need to make, to this bill to make it, complete, to sound right. So anyway, thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Teresa Melendez, Teresa Melendez, Melendez, and I'm with Silver State Government Relations, and I'm here to provide testimony in support of AB 73 on behalf of the Shawnee Paiute Tribes of the Duck Valley Indian Reservation. And I'd like to do a lot of things that were already said, but to add to that, Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch said something I think I'm going to quote a lot throughout this session, and that as Indigenous people, we're often asked, what we need. There's surveys and studies. Well, we don't have enough data, but we often experience the same things that teachers do or educators do. And this is a low bar ask, the ability for our students to wear their honors, the eagle feathers, and to be able to, on their graduation cap, and to be able to bead their graduation cap, or to be able to wear an outfit like I'm wearing right now underneath their gowns. We've got several big asks this legislative sessions where we know reservation-based schools, public schools and reservations are some of the lowest funded, lowest supported schools in the state. And this is a simple thing that we can do to help those who work in Indian education, like the gentleman behind me, and what Indian education activists and teachers have been asking for a long time. And what we're asking for, this is not new. Like we're falling in line with what other states have already provided for their students. when I talk about Indian education, my background's in education also. Nevada's about 30 years behind other states when it comes to Indian education. Assemblywoman Anderson has bringing us forward as far as honoring a Indian tuition waiver here in the state, and we're seeing more progress and more attention on Indian education. I think this committee for your work on that. There's a lot more needs to be done. So with that, I want to just again reiterate our support for Assembly Bill 73. Miigwech.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in Carson City? Did we lose the person in Vegas? We still have the person in Vegas who wanted to testify in support. We might have lost them. I know we have a lot of callers on the phone. So callers, I'm very thankful that you're here. So just know that if someone right before you says something exactly what you want to say, feel free to say ditto. But if we could try to keep the calls sort of brief, I would appreciate it. We do have, I'm not sure how much testimony we have on the other side. So, but we do want to hear from you. So BPS, please, please go forward.
Testify in support of AB 73. Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, my name is Nijoni Whitehat. For the record, that is spelled Nizhoni, and Whitehat is spelled Widehat. I am Navajo, Rosebud Lakota, and an enrolled member of the Northern Arapaho Tribe of the Wind River Reservation. I'm also the Northern Community Organizer for Native Voters Alliance Nevada. We at NVAN are in support of AB 73. When I graduated, I wore traditional rug dress and moccasins to walk alongside my classmates. I was adorned with full sets of turquoise and silver, and my hair wrapped up in a traditional bun, as my Navajo culture called for. I only got to do this because I hid my turquoise under my robes, and I did not attach the feather given to me for my accomplishments on my cap. I had to blend in as much as possible. Indian education, which is housed in the Office of Inclusive Education, was a large help to me in school and even provided me with the cap and gown that I couldn't afford at the time. I'm an enrolled tribal member and received assistance in school because of my heritage. Why was I required to hide the outward display of my people from such a momentous event? Please pass and approve this bill so future generations of youth can stand with their chests held high and honor the culture and community that keeps them strong. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next caller.
Hello.
Go ahead, caller.
Pija Tabina, me Inani and Lori Tom, Inu Tabuzi Takata, and a guy Takata. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak in support of AB 73. In 2016, I approached the Lyon County School Board to change the graduation ceremony language to allow Native students to bead their caps and to wear their eagle feathers. In 2017, the Lyon County School Board did pass the language amendment, but did not include a regalia. My son did walk in his graduation with his beaded cap and his feather. With this change, this reignited our eagle feather ceremony for our tribe. As Assemblyman Silva stated, this is very important to strengthening our culture in our Native students and to honor who they are and our ancestors. Statewide recognition for this bill would remove barriers students face wanting to honor their cultures. Again, I am in support of AB 73, and thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Thank you, Chair and Committee, for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. Hamuyo Pisha Tobino, New Machina Menina. Hello, my name is James Phoenix. I am the chairman of the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe in Northern Nevada. I am an alumnus of University of Nevada, Reno. I'm a retired police officer with Reno PD and a Lieutenant Colonel of Nevada Army National Guard. I support AB 73. Why? a student of a public school, specifically a Great Basin Native American student, without limitation should be profoundly entitled to wear traditional regalia or recognized objects of religious or cultural significance at a school graduation ceremony. As you heard testimony earlier, it is who we are. It is what we represent. By passing this bill, it will bring the consistency and set the foundation through legislation for all students of our great state of Nevada, moreover, our Great Basin Native American students. Therefore, please take the time and commitment and show and demonstrate this to us, that you're here for us, and pass this bill. In closing, I want to thank all committee members, and I support AB 73 as proposed by Assemblyman Ruben De Silva on behalf of the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, committee members. For the record, my name is Paula Luna. That's Paula-Luna, and I'm with Battleborn Progress, here to testify in support of AB 73. We want to ditto everything that was said by the previous everyone before us. On a personal note, I did want to add that when I graduate this spring with a master's, I will not only be celebrating my hard work, but also the obstacles my family have overcome as immigrants from Mexico. And I can't imagine a better way to celebrate and honor them proudly by displaying where we are from. We support this bill, and we hope the committee will too. Thank you.
Next caller.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Warren Graham, W-A-R-R-E-N, Graham, G-R-A-H-A-M. I am the tribal chairman for the Duckwater Shoshone tribe. I am representing my tribe today in full support of AB 373, allowing graduation regalia. As stated earlier in the testimonies about the sacredness of eagle feathers, being able to wear our traditional regalia at graduation ceremonies is a way of practicing our American Indian Religious Freedom Act rights. And in there it states the inherent right of freedom to believe, express, and exercise traditional religions of the Native American people, and allowing us to wear a regalia that supports the ARFA rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller with the last three digits of 143. Press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Assembly and Chair. My name is Sylvia Rondo, R-O-N-D-E-A-U-X. I am very grateful to be able to speak today. I want to say ditto to everything above in support of AB 73. I would also like to say that my son has been in a leadership program since the 5th grade. He was recently the sophomore class president, junior class president, and he just won the election for student body president for Carson High School. He is the very first Native American student to be able to accomplish this at his high school. It is very important for him to be able to represent his heritage. His whole life I have spoken to him about resilience and how education was once weaponized against Native American peoples, and that has helped him in his journey of being in leadership roles, and diversity is very important to him. Thank you very much. I hope that you will hear us. It's important that we be able to be seen. Thank you and take care.
Thank you. Next caller.
We are on support for AB 73. If you have just recently joined the call and would like to testify in support, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Miriam Gomez, Miriam, Gomez for reference. I would just like to say that I would like to ditto everything that past people have said, and also just to say that I am a first generation college student that is in full support of AB 73. Working with high school students ourselves, that mostly we are in a Latinx population, I do think it's very important not only to them for their own identity, but to their families and their culture, and being able to fully express themselves. And so I am in full support, and thank you so much for your time.
PPS, any more callers?
Hello, my name is Colton Desimone. I am a member of the Walker River Paiute tribe and a cousin of Sydney Williams, of which she mentioned in her testimony. I graduated from Douglas High School last year and spent the 4 years of my high school career positively representing this school. I was on the honor roll, varsity academic team, varsity soccer team, and the audition choral group, the Douglas Dynamics. Unfortunately, at the end of my senior year, I was hoping that my school would be excited to represent me for my culture on my graduation day. When I asked if I could wear my beaded cap while I walked across the stage, I was told that it would be unprofessional and distracting. My principal told me that if my cultural traditions were really that important to me, I could wear something underneath my robe as long as it could not be seen. I was told that if I decided to wear my beaded cap, not only would I be denied the right to walk across the stage, but my cap would be taken from me. My brother the year before was allowed to wear his beaded cap and now gets to look back on pictures of his graduation with pride of being able to share his culture among his cohorts. I, however, was stripped of this and will never be able to look back on these pictures with said pride. Instead, I look at these pictures and see how I was told my culture was a distraction. I am deeply disappointed that the state whom prides itself on Native American education does not already protect and sanctify the Native American culture. However, this bill brings new hope, and will hopefully protect Native American students and their culture, showing not only us, but the rest of the schools across America how important Nevada views Native American heritage.
Thank you so much for the call, and I just appreciate you calling in. I love that we not only have a catalyst from down south for this bill, but also on the line. So this is your government in action, folks. BPS, next caller.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair. This is Andrea Martinez, Andrea Martinez. I am the treasurer of the Walker River Paiute tribe, and I am in support of AB 73. Here in our district, we take part in an eagle feather ceremony, and our young adults take pride in their accomplishment of graduating. They get their caps beaded and attach their feathers to their caps. It's honorable for them to include their culture in such an important life accomplishment. Not until 2017 were our students allowed to include their culture in their graduation ceremony, but this is not the case in other districts. That's why I am in support of AB 73. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Deanna Huatran. That's DeannaHuatran. And I am the Coalition Coordinator for the Nevada Immigrant Coalition. Here on behalf of the Coalition and the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada in full support of Assembly Bill 73. Cultural and tribal regalia are symbols of one's identity, heritage, and tradition. It signifies a connection to one's ancestors and is a significant way to honor one's personal cultural heritage. Allowing students to wear their tribal regalia and objects of cultural significance promotes acknowledgement and celebration of students' unique identities and cultural backgrounds. It promotes cultural awareness and understanding among students, faculty, and the broader community who have differing cultural practices. In a state with such diversity, our students should be able to freely express the pride that they have in their cultural and tribal heritage. We ask that you too support AB 73. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next caller.
With the last three digits of 193, go ahead.
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Marky Wilder, Markiewilder. I'm a member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe, and I've worked in Indian education for the last 15 years. I also serve as the Indigenous Student Services Coordinator at the University of Nevada, Reno. I am in full support of AB 73. In my role at the University of Nevada, Reno, I get to celebrate each semester culture affinity celebrations, and it is a beautiful celebration full of graduation. Our Black and Indigenous people of color students wearing full regalia, and it is sad to see our freshmen who come into this space in an identity crisis, not knowing who they are. And I believe if we pass this bill, our students will be able to move forward, and it's a celebration of them embracing their resilience, everything that their ancestors have brought forward, and you get to see that diversity, like someone else said, in our state, and we get to celebrate that. So in closing, thank you for this time, and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Once again, we are on support for AB 73. If you have just recently joined the call and would like to testify in support, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Lowry, and I am a member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe. I also work for Nevada Urban Indians here in Reno, Nevada, as an outreach specialist for a youth program. I was told to call in to testify on behalf of CAPS, beaded caps for graduates for high school, correct? Or is it just for graduates? High school graduates. I have advocated in the past, probably in 2012 to 2015 here in Washoe County School District, for CAPS to have the ability to bead caps. We did have a JOM program that we were trying to have youth from one high school youth contracted to bead caps for about 25 graduating seniors. We approached one of the high schools here in Washoe County School District, and they stated that caps could not be altered at all. I did bring this up to the Washoe County Board of Trustees for the district. I went to that meeting numerous times. I was able to speak during public comment. It was not an action item on their agenda, so there were no votes. But I did reach out to outlying districts here in Nevada, northern Nevada. So I did reach out to Lyon County out in Fernley, so they are able to bead and alter their caps. That is a policy that they have for graduation caps, as they do have members from the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe that attend their school. I also reached out to Carson City and Douglas counties, as they do have Washoe tribal members that attend their schools. They had capabilities to allow that. Pyramid Lake High School, senior high school, is a BIE school, Bureau of Indian Education school, so they obviously encourage that. But for our youth, we wanted to have them to give them that ability. So in passing it, I think it would be great for future youth to have more Native American appeal, and it would be a great thing for them to have. I'm also in support of AB 73. So if you guys need any more questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Jonathan Lowry, Pyramid Lake tribal member, resident as well, and also a member of the Nevada Urban Indians team here with the Outreach Specialist Program. Thank you.
Thank you for your call and your involvement. BPS, next call.
Caller with the last three digits of 193, press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, this is Naomi Nevers. That's Nevers. I am calling in support of AB 73. I do have younger kids that will be coming up later on, so as a parent, I'm in support of it. However, right now I am on the Johnson O'Malley the program as a parent committee. I'm on the parent committee for the Washoe Tribe, but we do service all tribal members. We really want to service our seniors. We've been in discussion. We are offering to pay for some beaded caps for our students to get beaded caps, as well as we wanted to get Pendleton sashes. We really want to support these kids. So Douglas County, I believe Douglas High has said no, they will not allow it. Carson High is. So obviously we service a couple different high schools, so it's kind of unfair to, offer it to one and not the other. So I do understand that there is a distraction and that you have to keep it under control. However, I do, for things like this, like beaded caps, things that do not cause disturbance, I am in support of that. So I am highly asking you to pass this law so that our Johnson O'Malley program can fund all these seniors for all their hard work that they have done.
Thank you, caller. BPS, do we have any more callers?
We are on support for AB 73. If you've just recently joined the call and would like to testify in support, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 981, you can go ahead.
That was just me, Naomi Nevers, and I just spoke.
Any other callers, BPS?
We have no other callers wishing to give support testimony at this time.
Okay, with that, we will close support testimony and move to opposition. Do we have any opposition on the bill? Not seeing anyone. Anyone in Las Vegas? Not seeing anyone. Anyone on the phone in opposition?
Testify in opposition to AB 73. Please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 489, you can go ahead.
Caller, go ahead.
I don't know if this is Naomi Nevers again. It keeps asking me to unmute, and I'm done. So I don't know why it keeps doing that. I don't know if it's me.
Okay.
It keeps doing it. Sorry.
Okay. Did you want to make public comment? Is that where you're staying on the line? I know, but she's staying on the line is what I'm asking. Okay, Naomi. Well, hopefully we will come back to you. Otherwise, we'll talk to you in a minute. Any other callers in opposition?
We are on opposition for AB 73. If you just joined the call, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 039, go ahead.
Hi, yes, hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Go ahead.
This is Selma Myers. I want to say thank you, Chair and Committee. I'm calling from Southern Nevada. I'm the Southern Paiute MWAPA Education Chairman here, and I would just wanted to say that I am support of the AB 73. I know that here in Las Vegas, as well as the rural areas, we have many tribes that come from different states, and we see a lot of students that do request this to the district to wear regalia, to wear some of the things that are very traditional and cultural to them, and we don't see that. We haven't had any support. So I just wanted to, I've been hearing so many individuals calling in support of that. And we too would like to see that become available. And we know this is a tough route to work, but it is doable. So I just want to say thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. And we will put you in the support column. We are actually on opposition right now, but we will make sure that your comments go under support. Thank you for the call. BPS, but let's do one more call out for opposition, and otherwise I'm going to close the testimony on opposition.
Go ahead, caller.
Okay. Good afternoon. Nud Delmar Stevens, Minania, Nud Tabusi Dakota. My name is Delmar Stevens, DELMAR STEVENS. I am the vice chairman of the Arrington Paiute Tribe. I am a social worker with the Division of Child and Family Services in Lyon County. I've been in that role for the last 20 years. I am a traditional believer. In the last 2 years, I conducted the Eagle Feather Ceremony for the Arrington Paiute Tribe and Walker River Paiute Tribe. I did so to honor and acknowledge our youth because it's so important to acknowledge them, and in their hard work, they earned the feather that we provided to them, that my family provided to them. It is so important to acknowledge our youth at a time when negative rites of passage are viewed by our youth. We hope to instill cultural pride in our youth by acknowledging them in this way, and we sure hope that we don't have to depend upon the county political flavor of the time on whether or not it will be approved. We seek consistency. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I am also the father of Kutuvin Stevens, who graduated from the Arrington High School last year. Kutuvin is the founder of the Remembrance Run, and in 2021, he was acknowledged as the Reno Gazette Journal Citizen of the Year. He is also the subject of the remaining Native documentary that should be out this year. I wanted to say that when Ku wore his beaded cap and when he wore his feather that he earned, he did so with dignity and grace and honored our traditions, honored our ancestry. And I stand in support of AB 73 so that we Native people can honor our youth in a way that is deemed appropriate. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the call. And once again, we're going to go ahead and put that in the support column. As a reminder, we are on opposition of AB 73. BPS is there. I believe that there is one caller on the line. Let's see what they got.
We are on opposition to AB 73. If you just recently joined the call and would like to testify, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, it looks like we have no more people to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone in Carson City or Las Vegas who wanted to testify in neutral? If so, can you please come up to the microphone? I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. I don't see anyone here. BPS. Is there anyone on the line in neutral on AB 73?
To give neutral testimony on AB 73, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you, BPS. And if you wish to come back up, you can. That's what we call a testimony slam dunk. So even the people in opposition were for your bill. So congratulations. I'm just going to put you on the spot, Sydney. So my daughter, Molly, and Sydney performed in several plays together, including Sound of Music and View right here in Carson City. So it's so good to see you. You were just a little kid when I first met you, and now you're a beautiful young woman. So
thank you, Madam Chair, distinguished members of the Education Committee. Just in closing, again, I want to highlight the fact that good policy is oftentimes a confluence now of a desire and need from our constituents, from our community, and also a problem that has an easy solution. And that oftentimes is the real foundation upon which good policy is made. And I think this is an excellent example of a policy that has been vetted and that is now also coming from the very people that it's going to affect most, our young people. I want to thank Sydney for her advocacy not only at the local level but also at the national level on this issue. And also Evan here, who I saw, we went through the struggle at Rancho High School last year during his graduation. And I think that there were some folks who said, if you have a problem with this issue, go change the law. And he's over here working that process out in front of us all. So again, I want to thank our young people for being a part of this. Thank you to all the advocates here in this room who've brought this bill forward, and also the Education Interim Committee who made this possible. Again, I urge your support, and if there's any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
thank you. And with that, I will close the hearing on AB 73. And now we will move to our last agenda item, which is public comment. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person, telephonically, or they can submit public comment after up to 24 hours after the meeting. Those wishing to provide public comment telephonically, instructions for doing so, including the phone number and meeting ID, can be found on the agenda for today's meeting posted on Nellis. Each person has 2 minutes to provide testimony. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there any public comment here in Carson City or in Las Vegas? If so, please approach. Not seeing anyone. Broadcast services, is there anyone on public comment for the phone lines?
To provide public comment, press star now on your phone to be placed in the queue. Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
I thought for sure we were going to get support on AB 73. Okay, with that, we are ready to adjourn. Our next meeting will be Thursday, March 9th at 1:30. We do have a venue change. We will be in 4100. So just remember that. That concludes our meeting for the day, and this meeting is adjourned.